He shoved my friend so hard. She fell across the coffee table and ended up with a massive bruise on her back. I wanted to punch him, but instead, I found a way to destroy his entire education. He thought he could bully her, but I made sure his college days were over. If you've ever dreamed of seeing justice served to someone who crossed the line, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and buckle in, because this is one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll hear today. Back in the early 2000s, when the internet was still clunky and slow, I was just another college student trying to figure out life. Money was tight, so I moved in with my girlfriend at the time. We'll call her Jolie. We were happy, broke, but managing. We'd save on rent, eat ramen together, and on weekends, invite a few friends over for game nights. It was simple, but those nights meant everything. One night, Jolie told me she was inviting a new friend over from one of her classes. Sure, why not? More people, more fun. When the door opened, I was surprised. It was Jacqueline, someone I actually knew from high school. Not a close friend, but someone who was always kind, someone you didn't forget. Jacqueline clicked instantly with the group. She came back for dinners, movies, more game nights. For a while, it felt like we'd built this warm little community. But then she brought him. Jacqueline's boyfriend, let's call him Daniel, was a storm cloud walking into the room. While the rest of us were laughing, talking, playing games, Jay would just sit there, arms crossed, face cold. He never smiled, never engaged. You know the kind of energy that just sucks the life out of a room? That was Daniel. We still invited him to be polite, but everyone could feel it. He didn't want to be there, and we didn't want him there either. Thankfully, he only showed up a couple of times. Most nights, Jacqueline came without him. Then, one night, the phone rang. It was Jacqueline. She was crying. She could barely get her words out. Jolie immediately told her to come over. When she arrived, we saw what had happened. Her voice shook as she explained. Daniel had accused her of cheating because she spent too much time at our place. With who? Me? Jolie? Both? He didn't even bother to clarify. The accusation itself was ridiculous. But then it got worse. As she tried to leave, Daniel blocked her path. The argument escalated. He screamed at her, insulted her, called her names I don't even want to repeat. When she tried to push past him, he shoved her back. Hard. Jacqueline stumbled, tripped over the coffee table, and crashed to the ground. Later, she showed Jolie the bruise. Dark purple, spreading across her back and hip. Jacqueline insisted it was a one-time accident. She defended him, like so many victims of abuse do. But me? I was furious. My hands shook. My heart raced. I wasn't just angry. I was vibrating with rage. He had crossed a line you don't come back from. I'll be honest, my first instinct was violence. I'm a big guy, and for the first time in my life, I actually wanted to fight someone. To make him feel a fraction of the pain he caused her. But deep down, I knew that wasn't me. I'm not a fighter. I've never thrown a punch in my life. And even if I did, it wouldn't undo her bruise. It wouldn't erase what he'd done. But then, another idea came to me. Something colder. Something smarter. Something that would cut far deeper than my fists ever could. At the time, I was working part-time in the college administration building. My job gave me access to student records, IDs, class schedules, fee balances. And I knew something Jay probably didn't think twice about. The deadline to drop or add classes without penalty was coming up in just a few days. A thought formed. A dark, delicious thought. I logged into the system, pulled up Jay's records, and stared at his schedule. With a single call, I could change everything. So, on the very last possible day, I used the dedicated enrollment phone system, and I wiped him out. Every single class. Gone. But I didn't stop there. Oh no. I signed him up for every single course I could find that carried an additional fee. Lab classes, art classes, anything that drained money. See, at our college, if you owed money, you couldn't get transcripts, you couldn't re-enroll, you couldn't move forward. And Daniel? He was an international student. Without a full-time class load, he couldn't even stay in the country. I didn't just mess with his semester. I may have messed with his entire future. And I did it all in less than 10 minutes. I didn't dare check his records right away. I didn't tell Jolie. I didn't tell Jacqueline. I didn't tell anyone. This was my secret. But the very next Tuesday, Jacqueline came back with a story that made my heart soar. She and Jay shared an English class. That day, she walked in, and there he was. Except something was different. The room was overcrowded. Some students didn't have seats. The professor looked confused, pulled out the official roster, and started calling names. And guess who wasn't on it? Daniel. He tried to argue, tried to insist he belonged there. But the professor only shook his head. You're not enrolled in this class. Jacqueline said she never saw him there again. I didn't know exactly what happened after that. Maybe he tried to re-enroll. Maybe he got kicked out entirely. Maybe he had to leave the country. All I knew was this. His grip on Jacqueline was broken. She dumped him immediately. She didn't have to sit next to him in class ever again. And me? I carried the weight of what I'd done, but with no regrets. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far. But then I pictured Jacqueline, crying, showing Jolie the bruise on her back. And I remember, you mess with my friends, you pay the price. That Tuesday, when the professor called roll and Daniel's name wasn't there, I knew my plan had worked. He looked furious, powerless, desperate. For the first time, he wasn't the one in control. And that was better than any punch I could have thrown. Revenge doesn't always come with fists or screaming matches. Sometimes, the best revenge is quiet, calculated, and devastating. Daniel thought he could intimidate and hurt someone I cared about. Instead, he learned what happens when you cross the wrong person. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me in the comments. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen or done? And don't forget to subscribe, because trust me, you don't want to miss the next story.